Yo, what's up, y'all? It's the MMA Analyst back at it again, here to do my preview and my predictions for UFC 94, George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn, the most anticipated uh, rematch in UFC history. Um, I'm not gonna even lie, like this might be it. It was a crazy first fight. It was at a time where both fighters weren't as good as they are today. Both fighters have improved greatly. It's really it's a crazy fight. And as much as I would like to see, BJ Penn fight a bunch of guys at natural 155 and see George St. Pierre defend against Thiago Alves and stuff like that, I believe that's going to happen in the future. Um, but right now we get to see a fight, that who knows if it's going to come around later. For this video here, I'm gonna break down the main card, like the main event, actually, just the main event, and then just give some quick oversight or whatever on the other cards. Just got back into town, like where I live now, last night. Busy week, last week was Affliction, great card, all that great stuff. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to really buckle down and get into each fight like I would like to, but you know, I'll break down the main one for sure. All right, so we've got George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn. GSP, he's 17-2. He lost to Matt Hughes and Matt Serra. He tapped in both of those losses, and BJ definitely doesn't seem like he's gonna let it go. He said, if you tap to strikes, you're a beep. And I was like, oh damn, that's harsh words for the welterweight champion. And I guess latest to that crew would be Gilbert Ival, who tapped strikes against Josh Barnett, according to BJ Penn. Anyways, both those losses have been avenged. George St. Pierre, he really does sit atop the division as the king. This is a fight between the best guy at 170, which is George St. Pierre, and the best guy at 150, BJ Penn. Like I said before, there are some really good fights at 170. Thiago Alves to start, but this is a moneymaker that the UFC put together due to the enormous interest of the fans and really the fighters, and I think everybody wants to see this fight, except for maybe Thiago Alves and Kenny Florian, who probably would have had a title shot right now if it weren't for this super fight. George St. Pierre is great everywhere. His jiu-jitsu, he's a black belt. His strikes, he's a black belt. I don't know. I think it's in Taekwondo. He's a black belt. He's good from top to bottom, but his strongest weapon is definitely his cardio slash his stamina. Um, we've seen him stop wrestlers like Koscheck and Hughes with his wrestling. We've seen him play, the chess match on the mat, with Matt Serra, and other decorated Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. He stood up with some pretty decent strikers, and in the end, he has wins over, Matt Serra, Mayhem Miller, Carl Parisian, Josh Koscheck, Frank Trigg, Sean Shirk. He sent Sean Shirk right down to 155, and then recently over John Fitch, and of course many more, including BJ himself. In their first encounter, BJ Penn put George St. Pierre's face through a cheese grater in the first round, and then St. Pierre's his superior super duper cardio and his wrestling kicked into high gear, and he eked out a second and third round victory, I would say, and won the split decision based on that. He recently said he wants to fight more than BJ Penn wants this fight, and that's hard to believe, but I'm liking what I'm hearing, that's for sure. We've got now BJ Penn, the prodigy. For all the talk you hear about, he didn't reach his pinnacle. Up until now, he hasn't really devoted himself to the game. I mean, he's only got 4 losses. Those losses I'll get into them later, but you know what I mean. For a guy, you would think that he was like Charles Crazy Horse Bennett. You know what I mean? Like just a guy that really doesn't buckle down and he doesn't train at all. But you know, the prodigy, although he's definitely looking better than he's ever looked, he's definitely still looked good in the past. Um, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, the first American ever to do that. Um, he's got recent dominating wins over Sean Shirk, Joe Stevenson, and Jens Pulver, all at lightweight. Earlier in his career, he has a knockout win over Den Thomas. He has that fast-ass beatdown over Kyle Uno. He beat Matt Serra, avenging his first loss to him with just a dominating display. He's beat Takanori Gomi. He's beat Matt Hughes. He beat Dwayne Bang Ludwig. And he beat a pair of Gracies, and he beat some other guys as well. His first loss that like I said, he avenged it was to Jens Pulver. He lost to Matt Hughes. He lost to George St. Pierre in the first bout, and he lost to Machida, where he came in at like 187, and Machida came in at like almost 220. So, and Machida won by decision. So those aren't really 4 bad losses by any means. Now, Penn's boxing, in my opinion, he's got the best hands along with Andrei Arlovsky, and I think he stands alone with the best jab in mixed martial arts. My opinion, but he's got a serious left jab. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it is what it is. We don't even really need to talk about it anymore. And his wrestling is like a weird combination of amazing meets less than stellar. The amazing part of it is his takedown defense. It's just sick and twisted. Like he gets out of takedowns with crazy balance and flexibility and just some really natural talent. And then when he gets to the ground, his jiu-jitsu pretty much kicks in, and it's not so much wrestling anymore. And why not? He is as good as he is in jiu-jitsu. The question for BJ Penn has always been his cardio and I guess his intensity during training, which would have a direct effect on his cardio. No one will deny his ego and his mouth are almost, like boxing-esque. Like, there's not many people in mixed martial arts that talk as much junk as BJ Penn. Tito Ortiz tried, but there's not much conviction. When Tito Ortiz, talks trash, you're not even sure if he believes what he's saying. When BJ Penn talks trash, it's like, when he says, I'm going to kill you, George, it's really like, if something happens to George St. Pierre, BJ Penn's going to get charged with first-degree murder because he said, I'm going to kill you. And then he was like, I'm not joking. Like, some people are like, I'm going to kill you, man. And then, he's not really going to try and kill him. BJ Penn's like, I'm going to kill you, and I'm not joking about this. Then in the last, what was it? It was prime time, UFC prime times. Dude was like, Faraz, he was like, when the fight's done, that's George St. Pierre's main trainer. When the fight's done, I want you to go home, go in your bedroom, sit there for 20 to 30 minutes, and go F yourself. And I thought that was funny as hell. When you say that, I don't know if after the fight, no matter what happens, if at that point you can shake hands and be like, I was just hyping up the fight. I think that's a personal level that it's like, you know what I mean? This is MMA's, and you know what I mean? So it's personal, but it's like now you don't like the guy because he dogged you. But if that was anywhere else, that would have been an automatic fight. Even if I get on here and I'm like, yo, Chase, fan of, UFC critic, fan, go F yourself. If I do that, I would expect that when we meet, we gotta fight. It's because I would expect he would be like, what are you talking about? Or whoever it was. What are you talking about, man? You can't say that kind of stuff in front of all those people. I gotta defend myself. But we'll see what happens after this. I know BJ Penn talks a lot of trash. he was dogging Sean Shirk. Like, I'm like, damn, he's gonna send this guy into a suicide homicide thing because he was just, mad. Like, I didn't do them damn steroids. Ah! He was going crazy and like, where it's Penn, like poking, like, why'd you do the steroids? I don't like fighting dudes who do steroids. Why you're a cheater? You're a cheater. And Shirk's like, I don't do roids. I didn't do that, man. I'm tired of being, accused of things I didn't do. And then it's like, as BJ Penn poking at him. So then after the fight, he was like, I'm just hyping up the fight. I love you, Sean Shirk. We'll see what happens with this one. Anyways, enough of that little whatever. This fight won't be fought on the feet. It's probably easier ways to say that. I don't think this will be a stand-up war. I don't think GSP wants it or really needs it. George St. Pierre's stand-up is good, if not great, and he has a large arsenal of attacks, but he rarely uses it to hurt people. At least recently, definitely after that knockout from Matt Serra. What he does is after he grinds people down and wears them out with his wrestling and his cardio and his stamina, then he starts striking. Then he starts, oh, you're a little tired. Why don't I kick you in the head? Why don't I do a spinning back kick and all that other stuff? But his bread and his butter is his wrestling. And then after that, if he decides to, or if it's, it might be entertaining, he might throw a little spinning taekwondo kick or whatever would not. If he stands with BJ Penn, his face will get lit up again. All those fancy kicks and all that whatever would not, they're not going to matter. That jab is just a phone call away, just like pop, jab, jab. All of a sudden, his face will be all beat up. He's not going to do that. I see him going for multiple takedown attempts. He might throw out one jab or a jab cross, and then George St. Pierre will go for the shot, go for the takedown. I don't think he's going to get the first few. BJ Penn's going to be ready. He knows what's going to happen. BJ Penn is pretty sure he knows he's not going to go out there and fight the same fight that he had with Sean Shirk, where they're just both standing. George St. Pierre is going to jab, shoot. Jab, cross, shoot. And he's going to be sprawling. And I think he's going to successfully stuff the first few takedowns. But that's not going to stop. George St. Pierre is not going to stop. He's going to continue to bring it for 25 minutes or as long as it takes. I see, really nobody's ready for that kind of just non-stop aggression that he is able to sustain. BJ Penn is included. Though I do believe BJ Penn is the better fighter when it comes down to it. He has 3 humongous disadvantages. George St. Pierre is bigger. George St. Pierre is stronger. And with that strength and that size, he is still able to maintain the aggression that few are able to even reach that level. He's able to maintain it for 25 minutes if necessary. A lot of guys are saying George St. Pierre will win this late or BJ Penn will win it early, and that's because many, including myself, don't think BJ Penn or for the most part many guys can stand can hang with that through that gauntlet that GSP puts his opponents through. And at the same time, BJ Penn can hurt GSP early in the fight, but I think a 5-round decision victory over George St. Pierre is probably as unlikely as George St. Pierre. Let me rewind it. I think I might have said something wrong. A 5-round decision victory for BJ Penn is probably as unlikely as a first-round submission for George St. Pierre. I think George St. Pierre will win every round. I think it'll be a close first round and then a little wider second round. Third round will be pretty much near beatdown level, and the fourth round will be straight up beatdown. And I think whoever's reffing this will jump in after some ground and pound and stop the fight, TKO, referee stoppage. By the way, if George St. Pierre wins this fight and ends up fighting Anderson Silva, I believe that George St. Pierre will be murdered, cremated, and the wake will be on the following Wednesday. So the fight's on Saturday. They'll have the wake for the family and close friends on a Wednesday, and then the funeral will probably be on the Friday or the Saturday following. That is not a fight that George St. Pierre wants to take by any stretch of the imagination. That is not a good fight for him. This is already not a good fight for him because it's not like a win-win for him. It's like he gets the BJ Penn, but does he get the lightweight title? No. If BJ Penn wins, what does that do to his ranking and his whatever? Not good. You know, if he beats BJ Penn, what does that mean? Well, he already beat him before, and he's bigger, he's stronger, you know. Now going up to fight somebody like Anderson Silva, who's a big 185er, and George St. Pierre is not really that big of a 170 guy. That is just, you know, Anderson Silva is good off his back. He's got no problems with cardio. His striking is actual, like, strike to kill. Yeah, that's not a good fight. But anyways, I mean, it's a good fight, but not for GSP. All right, now Lyoto Machida versus Thiago Silva. Let me just run through this real quick. Both guys are undefeated at 13-0. Thiago Silva's style is pretty much rock'em sock'em, wrecking ball fight, shoot box style, come through kung fu and try and blast people. Lyoto Machida, he's kind of like I don't know, like, I'm just trying to stay politically correct with this, you know what I mean? So I got lots of stuff going on in my head, lots of jokes and whatever, whatnot. I'm not going to say any of them. I'm just going to say dude's very talented. He absolutely, it's no surprise why he has the wins that he has. He's good on his feet. He's good on the ground. He's got great takedown defense. He's fast as hell. And he's been able to pretty much get into people's minds when they fight. They try and punch him. He's no longer there, you know, and he's over there already. And then he hits him. This is what I think the situation is with this fight. And this is what I've always said with Lyoto Machida. A lot of people call him elusive. That's, first of all, incorrect. He's evasive. You gotta look it up in the dictionary and see the difference in the two. Elusive is kind of like, oh, I can't catch him. Where? Oh, there he is. Oh. Evasive is I'm moving, like I'm gone, I'm not there. Elusive is like this. Evasive is this, like off, you know, gone. His evasiveness has been very, very hard to deal with for fighters and for some MMA fans. And Thiago Silva says he's ready for it. What now? Listen, all guys out there in the UFC or outside of the UFC who plan on fighting Lyoto Machida, the guy is good. You already know that. You know what I mean? He's got wins over Rich Franklin. He's got wins over BJ Penn. He's got, you know, the dude's handled his business so far. But what we're gonna need, and when I say we, I mean all the guys out there that are trying. I'm not trying to beat the dude, but you know what I mean. This is what you got to do. And this is why Thiago Silva is probably one of the guys that can do it. You have to keep chasing him. If you go in and you throw 1, 2, 3, when you're done throwing 1, 2, 3, he hits you. But when you're throwing 1, 2, 3, he's doing this, jumping on the side. You know what I mean? Like when if you look at the fights, for the vast majority of the time, if you throw a punch, Machida jumps back with his hands up and he goes to the left or to the right. But he doesn't do this. You throw a punch and he goes, gotcha. No. He's not a counter puncher that way. He's more like you punch, he moves, you stop punching, he hits you. That's how he beats people down. He's very good at it. Don't get it twisted. This is not hate. This is like admiration, like, damn, this guy's good at what he does, but I just want somebody to crack the code. Alright? So, look. Thiago Silva, if you're watching this, I know, you know, maybe, I hope your coaches just figure this out. The next guy, Thiago Silva, loses. You got to remember, this is what happens. You throw the punch, he moves, you put your hands down like, oh man, and then you get hit. The way to beat Lyoto the Dragon Machida, in my mind, is to keep throwing punches. And that's the hardest thing on earth. Or even if you're not throwing punches, keep moving forward. Even if you're just moving forward with a jab. Like, I believe that if you're like, move forward, moving 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 forward, this will be the whole time. All right. Now, the minute you get tired because you just throwing punches 5 straight minutes, that's that's a problem because then he's gonna light you up. All right. So it's a tough fight. Can can Machida do it? Sorry, can Thiago Silva do it? I don't think he can. He is aggressive. I don't know though. I don't think he can do it. I see Lyoto Machida, frustrating dude, winning by decision. What can I say? Who do I think could do it if the fight was given the opportunity? That's even tough to say. Rashad Evans is just as fast as Machida, but he's a counterpuncher as well. And Rashad Evans doesn't win rounds. He wins fights, but he doesn't win rounds. Against Lyoto Machida, you got to win rounds because you got to hit him, and that's the way you win rounds. Against Chuck, he lost the first round, and then in the round that he won the fight. Against Forrest Griffin, he lost the round. That's what he does. He goes out there and he waits and he waits and he times you and he times you and he does all this cool whatever, and then bow. And he's like, I got you, time's up. I don't think he can time dude because Machida, you can't time a guy that's not there. You can't time a counter punch to a guy who's not punching. So with Rashad it would be a bad fight. Okay, first of all, it would look bad because they're both counter punchers, and B, it would be very boring, and I don't think he could do it. I think he would lose a 5-round decision. Rampage Jackson, now Rashad maybe could take him down with the wrestling if he just went out there for the wrestling aspect, like I'm going to take you down and try and get you by decision with some ground and pound stuff, but I don't know. Rampage is not as quick as it used to be. You know what I mean? Rashad's speed is what makes Rashad what I think a guy that would at least have a good shot. That old Grand Prix winning Shogun, that aggressive guy, that guy could do it. But Shogun recently, he's gonna need to get all his cardio back and more. So Machida's a real tough cookie to crack or case to crack or cookie to crumble or whatever it is. All right, Stephan Bonner versus John Jones. This is a situation. There's two of them on this card, with an undefeated fighter in John Jones up against a guy who has beaten a lot of tough guys and lost to only the toughest guys, which is Stephan Bonner. Stephan Bonner's lost to Forrest Griffin twice. He lost to Rashad Evans, and he's lost to Lyoto Machida. That's it. When he lost to Forrest, a lot of people, that. Oh, he lost to Forrest, but then we find out Forrest Griffin's a, light heavyweight champion. Then he lost to Rashad. He's also the light heavyweight champion. So that's who Stephan Bonner is. John Jones, he's pretty much a good fighter, but he hasn't faced anybody as good as Stephan Bonner, and he also hasn't faced the type of guys that Stephan Bonner's faced. I'm picking Stephan Bonner to win this fight, in a pretty entertaining bout, to say the least. Then we've got a similar fight in Dong Hyun Kim, where he's undefeated, and he's facing Carl Parisian. Similar to the last fight I just spoke about, Carl Parisian, he's lost to Thiago Alves, future champion for sure. Diego Sanchez, George St. Pierre, and Sean Sharp twice. So, you've got Dong Hyun Kim, he's on the uprise, he's undefeated, but he hasn't really faced anybody, the kind of people that Carl Parisian's faced, and Carl Parisian will be his toughest test. Similar to the John Jones, Stephan Bonner situation, I'm going with the experienced guy, and by experience I mean ring experience, competition experience. I'm going with Carl Parisian. Nate Diaz versus Clay Guida. Nate Diaz doesn't knock people out. He doesn't stun people with his punches. He's kind of like the North American punk high school version of Nogueira. And I mean that as a compliment. He goes out there, he does his thing, and a lot of times he gets beat up, and then he comes back and he gets a submission. In this fight against Clay Guida, he's gonna have to get a submission in the middle of an onslaught that probably will not ever end. And I don't think he's gonna be able to pull out that submission. I think he's gonna get, I think it's his third loss to Clay Guida by decision. He's lost to Hermes Franca back in 2006. He lost back in 2005, and now he's gonna lose, I think, in 2009. It's a really good fight. It's a really entertaining fight. It's one of the ones I'm looking forward to the most. I would like to see Nate Diaz pull off that victory. I do like the Diaz brothers. I think they're entertaining. I think they're talented, and they're young. So we'll see what happens with that. Preliminary card, there's two guys on the undercard that we should make mention of. John Fitch is one of them, and Christian Welch is the other one. Both these guys are a part of American Kickboxing Academy. Both these guys had the little issue with Dana White and the contract that they didn't want to sign because of the video game, this and that, and now they're both on the undercard. Alright, maybe now Dana can put them back on the main card. Definitely John Fitch. Anyways, John Fitch versus always entertaining Akira Gono. I got John Fitch winning this fight. Thiago Tavares versus Manny Gambarian. Manny, recently he's been getting injured. One time in the middle of a fight, other times while training, and then he got his brain injured against Rob Emerson in a knockout that was one of the, I don't want to say it, but like one of the funniest ones recently. It was almost as funny as Karatanov versus funniest knockout. Yeah, that's a good little topic there. Karatanov versus Alistair Overeem about a year and a half ago. Alistair Overeem was beating his ass, and then switch, that was his cardio, it just turned off, and then he just started getting his ass whooped, and then he turned away and he started to jog away, like his back to Dude, and Dude came around and just was like, cluck, and it was actually just a funny ass knockout. But anyways, Manny Gambarian, I don't think he's gonna win this fight. I've got Tavares winning this one. Thiago Tavares, so many vowels and things. I've got him winning this one, potentially. I would have to say by decision. John Howard versus Chris Wilson. I got to go with Chris Wilson. Jake O'Brien versus Christian Welch. I think this will be possibly the most boring fight of the night. I've got Jake O'Brien winning by decision. And Matt Arroyo versus Dan Kramer. Dan Kramer was in the house, the Ultimate Fighter house. He actually doesn't have any actual pro MMA experience. He's got the ones in the house, which don't count. They're exhibition matches. So Dan Kramer is 0-0 going into this fight with Matt Arroyo, who is, I believe, 3-2. Yeah, and he lost to Matt Brown both times. Once in the UFC, one outside of the UFC. I'm going with Matt Arroyo. It's a good fight. It's a good card. Sorry, that fight, whatever. It's a good card, especially the main card. A lot of stuff I'm interested in. Obviously, the main event, George St. Pierre versus BJ Penn. Lyoto Machida versus Thiago Silva. I'm almost more interested in that one just to see what happens with it and what happens after it, especially after. If Lyoto Machida wins this fight, with everybody else locked up in fights, who is Rashad Evans supposed to fight next? Either he fights Lyoto Machida in a couple months, or he waits like 9 months to fight the other guys and to see who they won. Rampage is fighting Rashad Evans. Is fighting Keith Jardine. Forrest Griffin's injured and coming off a loss. Chuck Liddell is fighting Shogun. Vanderlei Silva is coming off a loss. So all these guys that would normally be potential challengers to the title are all fighting very soon, like within the next 2-3 months. So either Rashad Evans doesn't fight until like October, or he fights Machida or Thiago Silva, the winner of this, in 4 months. We shall see what happens. I believe that Dana White will not give Lyoto Machida a title shot no matter what. I also believe that if Lyoto Machida wins this fight, like I don't know when his contract is up, but I do believe, and let me put this out there, I might have said in the past, if Lyoto Machida continues to win, the next time he has his contract and they gotta renegotiate, Dana White's gonna lowball him. Lyoto Machida is going to say, "But come on, man, uh, take it or leave it." Lyoto will have to leave it, and then Dana White will call him the most boring fighter of all time and trash him like he trashes every other fighter that's ever left the UFC, and uh, and call him a whole bunch of names and da da da. That's just and say that Lyoto left, was fired from the UFC for whatever whatnot. He might not even say his name ever again. He also has done that. Like I've never heard him say Matt Lindland's name ever since, or Josh Barnett. He said that once maybe a year ago. But anyway, that's an interesting thing to see what happens. If he loses, well then he's not going to get a title shot anyways. He probably won't get a title shot for another 5 years. And maybe in 2012 we'll be talking about Lyoto Machida's title shot opportunity again. Who knows? Awesome card. Can't wait. I don't know how long this is. It may have been a little long. Sorry, y'all. I had to put it together last minute. But y'all know why I'm doing it. MMA, y'all. It's important.